you know, it's, if this campaign was about appealing to individuals who you have worked with over the many decades, I wouldn't have needed a runoff because we have history. We have history. You know, look, I can talk about public safety. You know, I can talk about balancing budgets. I mean, you know, but at the end of the day, we've got to get at the underlying causes of all the city's problems, and those underlying causes are the long-term disinvestment in the city's poorest communities. When I ran the Chicago Public Schools with Gary Chico, it didn't take me long to figure out who the families were I was serving. And they were overwhelmingly minority families. At the time, they were overwhelmingly black families. And so when I decided that the budget was going to be a budget that invested in those communities where most of my students came from, it didn't take me long to decide to pull all the school construction projects out of the Public Building Commission so that I could award half those contracts to Black and Latino businesses. And let me point out that 32% of those $3.2 billion contracts went to black male contractors because we didn't double count. And when I told contractors, whether they were white or black, that half the individuals that they hired had to be black and Latino, and 58% of them were, and when I removed the obstacles to black contractors getting hired by insuring them, by providing them with bonding, by providing them with capital, by a lot of times providing them with the materials, which I would bulk purchase, by allowing them to pre-qualify so they wouldn't have to bid on 30 contracts. They could simply wait until it was their turn, the next project came up. And I not only did that for school construction, and we built 78 school buildings and renovated 350 major renovations, over 3,000 renovations in total, but we also did that with contractors. When Daley said he wanted to privatize the custodials, and I said, no, I'm not going to privatize the existing schools, but I'll tell you what, we'll do the new schools, but we're only going to hire minority contracting companies from the community. That's when I hooked up with this guy. All the contracts went to minority companies who hired parents from the schools and from the communities. And we just didn't do that with custodials. We did target marketing that on technology contracts that only hired and pre-qualified black companies for small technology contracts. And we did 40% professional services. Even on the bond business that came our way, and usually City Hall decided who the bond counsel was, I said, I don't care, you pick the bond counsel, you pick the law firms, but they gotta have the 40%. They gotta have the 40% on everything. Now, I didn't do it because I was planning on running for public office again. In fact, I would have stayed at the schools forever. But nobody works forever for the mayor, as you know well know. 6 years was a pretty long time. I did it because it was just the right thing to do. It's the same sense of community that brought me to Philadelphia, where when that school district got taken over by the state, and incidentally got me voted one of America's 20 best leaders when I was there by U.S. World News Report. It's that same sense of service that brought me to New Orleans when the school district was destroyed from Hurricane Katrina. I've got Brandon Johnson, who's never run anything in his life, telling me, you closed schools in New Orleans. I go, no, Katrina closed schools in New Orleans. And I did nothing but open schools in New Orleans. And that's the same sense of public service that brought me to Haiti 50, 60 times. Put me in the hospital 3 times, and I kept on going back because we were doing relief work there. In fact, I chaired an organization that took care of 50,000 displaced Haitians, financed Sheriff Sean Penn's organization called CORE. Because this is what I do. Public service is my life. You know, at 10 o'clock at night, my wife gets up with her 2 artificial hips, and she puts on her uniform because she works midnights at TSA, at the airport, security, for kind of minimum wage. You know why? Because me going to Haiti, me going to Chile after the earthquake, me going to New Orleans, I lost all those pension years, so she's got to work so we can have health care. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm just pointing out that she goes to work and makes sacrifices for me because because that has allowed me to do what I do, and that's why I'm running for mayor. That's why I'm running for mayor. Because the city's in crises, and I have the skills to get the city back on track. And if revitalizing the city, and in order to revitalize our city, we have got to focus on those communities that have long been underserved. And in order to do that, we've got to do the type of things, whether it's hiring or contracting or all the things that we have to do, so that we are creating local ownership and local wealth accumulation. Because that's how you empower the community. That's how you build what can be transferred to the next generation. That's what it's about. So people have a clear choice. They can either vote for someone who has done it, vote for someone who has laid out a plan to make all communities safe, vote for someone whose tenure at the Chicago Public Schools was probably the renaissance of the Chicago Public Schools, when enrollment was growing, when Bill Clinton was calling us a model for the nation, and to vote for someone who has actually managed multi-billion-dollar budgets. I mean, I'm running against someone who says his best job was a teacher, yet he was a teacher for 5 years. And you know, when he retires, he's going to get a teacher pension because his years as a union organizer are going to be added to his teacher pension. Imagine that for a second. Tell the teachers that. And he's still in the payroll of the Chicago Teachers Union. Someone who has never run a thing. I mean, that's it. The differences are stark. The community has been long neglected. I'm the anecdote. No one can match me in my hiring, in my contracting, in my commitment, in my years in service to the community. No one, no matter how many lies they want to make up or how many stories they want to make up, that is a public record for those who will take the time to look. If I'm going to win this election, it's going to be because of you all. It's going to be because of all the people who have worked with me, who have partnered with me, who have eaten and broken bread with me, who have collectively guided me and inspired me to do what I do and to do what I've always done. This is why I need your help. 2 weeks left. We got to get the word out. We got to get the word out to everybody. I mean, the fundraising is nice and appreciative, but at the end of the day, it's the votes that count. I am doing well in the community. I can do better. I've always served the community. Help me serve you better. Imagine controlling $28 billion in spending instead of $3 billion in spending. Imagine allocating the budget the way I allocated our resources in the Chicago Public Schools. Imagine the impact in the community. Imagine the benefits of black businesses. Imagine the benefits to people who live in the community, to working men and women. Imagine the benefits to returning citizens who we've all but ignored as we talk about making Chicago a welcoming city. So that's my shtick. I need your help. I need for you to get me up, get me over the finish line, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we do realize that Mr. Vallas has to run because he has several other stops. But one thing I left out is when we went to the Chicago